want to give all praises and glory to
Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi.
And peace and blessings to you brothers and sisters throughout the four quarters of the earth that are believing on the gospel and waiting on Yahawashi for deliverance. We're just kind of going to just a few, different things. Primarily, just this past week, we had the Feast of Dedication, also known as Hanukkah, which is something that was basically kept going back to the time of the Maccabees. And this is part of the importance of knowing about the different high holy days, not just that, but as to why we celebrate them. Okay, and then in addition to that, it's just further proof or just edification for you brothers and sisters that want to know about the relevance of the Apocrypha. Okay, because of the fact that the Apocrypha has this in here, and we'll get into other scriptures as well to kind of show that the validity of this particular incident and this particular holiday or high holy day that was set back in Israel during the time of the Greek Empire. Okay, so you can go ahead and go into it.
This is 1 Maccabees 4:52. Now on the 5 and 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Caslu, in the 140th and 8th year, there arose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifices according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and cymbals.
Yep.
Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the Most High of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was their very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Yep.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
Yeah, so it's on the ninth month of the year, not September, but the 9th month of the Hebrew calendar. Okay, and then it starts on the 25th day. Now, it says that it was a sacrifice of deliverance. Okay, so because why? They were delivered out of the hands of the Greeks during that time. It's very short, but for you brothers and sisters, we recommend that you just read the first 4 chapters of the book of Maccabees. If you just read the first 4 chapters, you understand why they did this. Because of what was happening during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes.
Yep.
Came in, and that guy, that was actually prophecy that he was going to do. That there was a man that was going to be a wicked root that was going to spring up. But that's in the book of Daniel. We're not going to get that, but that he was going to actually do this. Okay, now the reason why it's celebrated is for this very reason. Now during this time, it just so happens that the same day that we had the Feast of Dedication, it just so happened to be Thanksgiving. Okay, so we'll get a little bit into that. But why don't you go ahead and give me John 10 and 22? Okay, because a lot of people say that the Apocrypha is not real, it's non-canon. You got to understand that the people that took out these books out of this Bible are people that are not Israel. They took it out so that way you wouldn't know who you are, you wouldn't know the understanding of who the Greeks were talking about in the scriptures. Because when you go into the book of Maccabees, it was made unlawful for a man that was a Jew to call himself a Jew. He had to call himself a Greek. These are the ones that didn't have the courage to stay within their traditions. Because Judas Maccabees and his brethren and the people that were with him, they were also fighting against wicked Jakes that was coming up against.
Yep.
So there was a division even within Israel back then over whether or not over the keeping of the customs or whether to be Greeks.
Right.
Which is where you have the issue in the New Testament come out.
Yep.
So go ahead and get me that.
This is John 10 and 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter.
Okay. It was a Feast of Dedication and it was winter. Now, aren't we in the wintertime? It's November. Well, as in the Gregorian calendar, but we're in the wintertime. So It was the feast of dedication and it was winter. And go ahead and keep going, huh?
And Yahawashi walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
Exactly. Yahawashi walked in the temple. So Yahawashi kept the feast of dedication. And the feast of dedication cannot be found in the Torah.
Right.
It cannot be found in the first 5 books. It can only be found in the Apocrypha. Period. So if he kept it, that validates the Apocrypha right there, especially the book of Maccabees.
Right. Right.
You know, and that's a very important piece to understand if you want to understand the New Testament and the scatter that was pushed out of the land, because Israel was already scattered, but they were scattered again during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes in the Greek Empire. It tells you that people fled to North Africa, to Libya, Egypt. Our people were fleeing during that time because of the army and the onslaught that was coming into Israel.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
So
that was it. Yeah, that was
so
it.
now we can go ahead and go to we'll go to Romans 14 and 5. Now we're going to go into one of the topics which came up over the weekend about whether or not we should keep. Now this is what we're supposed to keep as Israelites that have the knowledge, that have received mercy and the grace from our Lord Yahawashi. We are now to basically begin to walk in the ways of our customs.
Right.
And it says the commandments are not grievous. But for some people, it appears that it's still grievous for them to even just keep this. Now, I'll say this, do you think that this guy, when he was doing this lesson, do you think he knew that it was the Feast of Dedication?
Couldn't have.
He couldn't have.
Yeah, he couldn't. Yep.
He couldn't have. He couldn't have,
Yep.
because one, his elders didn't go over it.
Right. Right.
Now, this brother, before the Feast of Dedication came, he was the one that made sure and brought it up to us that the Feast of Dedication was upon us, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You get what I'm saying? So within our group, within our small sanctuary,
Yeah, right.
we already had knowledge that it was coming up and that it was to be kept. Okay? So this shows you what's going on, man, and that the fact that someone would spend 2 lessons defending keeping Thanksgiving and didn't do a lesson defending keeping the Feast of Dedication. You see, brothers and sisters, man,
Right.
don't think that we've been doing this about trying to correct our brothers, all right, that are in error, that we're carnal. Okay? Because when you see things like this happen, you understand why there's need for correction.
Right.
Okay? So go ahead and go into that.
This is Romans 14 and 5. One man esteemeth one day above another. Another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind.
Now, people will use this to justify them not keeping high holy days.
Right.
Now, this is talking about whether or not, because when you go into when Paul was doing his ministry, and the Gentiles, the ones that was not keeping the law, were waking up, the first thing they didn't tell them to do was keep the high holy days, because you got to let grace, you got to allow the grace, your liberty, and the grace that you have to lead you towards keeping more and more of the customs.
Yeah.
No one just gets into this thing and then first day one, they're automatically keeping the customs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People still, they still might not be, fully persuaded in their mind. Now, for those that are, and those that know better, now you should do better.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's right.
So people using this to justify doing what they want on whatever day, which you do have liberty to fast if you want.
Right.
On any day. You don't have to just fast on the day of atonement. You get what I'm saying? But you shouldn't be telling brothers that they should eat this a feast.
Right.
Right? Because now you're causing a man to sin. That's not talking about that. You get what I'm saying? It's so is there more on that?
Yeah. Verse 6. He that regardeth the day, regardeth it unto the Lord.
Yeah.
And he that regardeth not the day to the Lord, he doth not regard it.
Okay, that's good.
That's
good. And with this, that could be whether it's your own personal preference to do something or not. Now, if you got a younger brother, that's why a lot of times Paul will come with examples.
Yeah.
You got a younger brother in the faith, right? He just got into the faith. He might not keep the Feast of Dedication. Right. Because he might not understand it yet, or you get what I'm saying, he might not have been edified on it yet. now once he's edified on it and he believes in it, now he has the obligation to a certain degree to now keep it as unto the Lord, if it so pleases him. Now, if a guy, let's say a guy couldn't keep it for some reason, but he decided to keep it the next day, he's not going off. But at the end of the day, this is talking about having the liberty to do as you please on what day as unto the Lord. That could be an example of fasting, praying, or not. You get what I'm saying? It could be just in simple terms. Now we're gonna break it down a little bit further for you. Go to 1 Corinthians 8.
This is 1 Corinthians 8.
And started about
touching things. Oh, that's at the top.
Yeah, start at the top. You can just start from the top.
This is 1 Corinthians 8. Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know. But if any man love the Most High, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols,
Okay.
we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other God but one.
Okay. Now, such a thing sacrifice unto idols. Now, example is a lot of the wicked high holy days here in Babylon. All of them deal with some kind of sacrifice unto idols. Even if you and your wife or your woman, y'all observe Valentine's Day, y'all are dealing with a Greek idol. You're dealing with the goddess Aphrodite, all kinds of other idols that is dealing with that.
Yep.
Saint Valentine, which is a patron saint in the Catholic Church, right?
Everything contrary to the scripture.
Yeah, so you got to factor in St. Patrick's Day. Those are feasts and things offered unto idols, man.
Right.
That's our examples, including Thanksgiving. Okay, which we're going to get into, because the misconception out there is now because of your liberty, you think your liberty, it says use not your liberty for an occasion to sin.
Yeah.
That's what it says in there.
That's what it says. That's what it says.
Your liberty is your liberty of in this truth and knowledge and the grace that you've been given from our Lord Yahawashi Mashiach is not given to give you a license to sin. Okay? In fact, on that, go to Sirach 15. In the last verse. Okay?
This is Sirach 15. 15, this is Sirach 15 and 20. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin.
Exactly. Break that down, Doc.
Hey man, it's plain, really. I mean, he hasn't given any man the freedom to go out there and just do whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
You know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever holiday it is, these are all sins, man. So
exactly.
You don't have liberty to do those things.
Yeah, don't let no man do that, man. Don't let no man beguile you of that, man. Because
right.
see, if a man's telling you it's okay for you to keep Thanksgiving, and we're gonna go into the scenarios of all these things so brothers and sisters can have an understanding, because we are in this world.
Yep.
We are in Babylon, man, the mother of harlots.
That's right. That's right.
So we're talking about all kinds of stuff that's going on over here. Because guys that get simple and say, well, look, don't they do this or this? Don't they, if you go to Starbucks, don't they got the goddess on the cup?
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from. They're simple, and that's how they make you. That's where it tells you in the scriptures, it says, be not hardened by the deceitfulness of sin.
Yeah.
You got men that are trying to harden your heart by the deceitfulness of sin, saying that everything is sinful. So everything is defiled. So technically, if you're doing this, you're technically going off, huh? Not understanding the spirit of the law and righteousness. Right? So go ahead and go back to that.
This is 1 Corinthians 8 at verse 5. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many. Yep. But to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Yahawashi Mashiach,
Go ahead.
by whom are all things, and we by him.
That's beautiful, because we want to dispel and make sure everybody understands there is one true power. That's Yahweh. There is one Lord. That is Yahawashi. Okay? That's plain.
Yeah.
That guy's some of masters and lords. And I know we had talked about some earlier. There's a patch I saw, which we'll get into, and we will probably get into this lesson some other time, from the Latin Kings.
Right.
It's an actual gang. It's a big gang that's known throughout the U.S. Now, we know about their Masonic orgies, because one day we'll go into some of that different stuff. Now, you know on the patch, you know what it said? They had a patch for Latin Kings. They had guys with robes and kings on the patch. They said lords, masters.
Woo! Hey, man.
So, hey, that's...
Lift your eyebrows on that one.
Hey.
Right.
Hey.
Shit. Hey,
So,
man.
hey, the rabbit hole gonna get deep.
It gets
We'll show you how deep the rabbit hole goes eventually. But we want to establish that there is just one Lord, man.
Right.
And one master, which is Yahawashi, man. Don't let no man tell you different. That's the reason why you got guys that are going into multiple doctrines. Because you got you are men of many masters, man. Be not of many masters.
That's right.
You can't be serving Yahawashi and serving a man. Okay? So go ahead.
Verse 7.